We have here the brand new GT-1000 Core, which is a really exciting multi-effects pedal from Boss because of its compact size and the sheer amount of power packed into it. 24 simultaneous effects blocks, say what? But power is just power, and what we need is the ability to control that power. Let's see how it MIDIs. What's up everybody, this video is something special because we have the brand new Boss GT-1000 Core. It has all the DSP power of the full-size GT-1000 despite its compact form factor, and looks set to be a great addition to more pedal boards in time to come. We always get excited when a new compact multi-effects pedal gets released because we believe they offer musicians the best of both worlds. You no longer have to choose exclusively between a multi-effects unit or a mix and match pedal board. You can now have both. And of course, using a Morningstar MIDI controller with pedals like this is so fun and practical, opening up a whole new world of creative possibilities. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today we are going to go through the basics of using MIDI with the GT Core. Let's just call it GT Core because the full name is just such a mouthful. In this video we'll learn 3 things specifically. How to recall presets on the GT Core with your MIDI controller. Secondly, how to engage and bypass individual effects blocks on the GT Core. And lastly, how to control parameters within each of the effects blocks. The GT Core uses a simple 3.5mm stereo cable for MIDI. That's great because these are inexpensive and take up very little space. We recommend these Hosa 3.5mm right angle to right angle TRS that you can get for $5 on Amazon. Linked in the description below for your convenience. In this example, we are using our MC3 MIDI controller, which has 3.5mm stereo outputs, allowing you to connect directly to the GT Core. Just for your knowledge, the GT Core receives MIDI via the tip, which is in line with the universal MIDI standard. Ports 1 and 2 on the MC3 are fixed and send MIDI via the tip, while ports 3 and 4 are switchable and can send MIDI via the tip or ring. So just go ahead and connect your MC3 MIDI controller to the MIDI port on your GT Core. If your MIDI controller has a 5-pin or 1/4" MIDI output, you can use a 5-pin to 3.5mm cable like this, or a 1/4" to 3.5mm adapter like this. The next thing you need to do is to set your GT Core to the MIDI channel that you want to receive MIDI on. In this example, let's just use channel 1, so all the MIDI messages we send to the GT Core today have to be sent via MIDI channel 1. And that's it, your GT Core is now ready to receive MIDI from your MC3. Now moving on to recalling presets on the GT Core. All you need to do to recall the preset on the GT Core is to send it a program change message, commonly referred to as a PC message. A PC message with PC number 0 will recall preset U1, which is the first user programmable preset slot on the GT Core. PC number 1 will recall U2, PC number 2 will recall U3, and so on. The simple way to remember this is, whatever PC number you send, the GT Core preset number that will be recalled is always +1. Once you've programmed your tones on the GT Core, press the right button to save it as a preset, and you can then use your MIDI controller to recall it anytime you want. In this example, let's say we want to recall preset U5 on the GT Core with switch C on the MC3. So all we have to do is program switch C to send a PC message with PC number 4. Let's name this switch MB Crunch for multi-band crunch. Now when I press switch C, preset U5 will be engaged regardless of whatever state the GT Core is in. You can go ahead and repeat the same process for other presets. Alright, now moving on to our next tip for today, using MIDI to engage and bypass individual effects blocks on the GT Core. This is extremely useful, especially since the GT Core only has 3 switches, which is not enough to allow you to use other functions and still be able to control individual blocks. Okay, so the first thing you need to know about how the Boss GT Core MIDI works is that it uses MIDI mapping to control all its presets and parameters. And how you access that is by pressing Menu, Controller Assign, and then Assign Setting. That will bring you to this table where you can decide what you want to control and what MIDI message will control it. This table is unique and savable per preset. That means you can have a different assortment of controls and functions for every different preset. Right now we are at preset U1, and let's take you through its control assign table. This is gonna take a bit of time, and we must admit it was not completely obvious to us when we first started, but that's why we made this video, so you don't have to do the hard work like we did. Once you get it, you're gonna get your controls up in no time. The first column you will see is target. This determines what you control. There is a whole list of categories for you to choose from, and a subcategory for each of them. In this first example, I've chosen distortion 1, on or off for our first target. This will allow you to engage or bypass distortion 1 in preset U1. You can also choose to change your distortion type, adjust your gain level, tone, and much more. So once you've selected the target you want to control, make sure that this box on the left is checked and in a solid color. If it is hollow, that means the entire row will be excluded and whatever has been set in that row will be ignored. This is designed so that you can quickly choose which rows you want to include or exclude. The next two columns are the minimum and maximum columns that determine what happens when a minimum or maximum value is received. Here you can see that when the minimum value is received, the distortion will be turned off, and when the maximum value is received, the distortion will be turned on. On the next page of the assignments table, you will see source. This determines the source that will control our target. When using MIDI, it's really straightforward. You just have to select a MIDI number for the source. Let's choose CC number 1. Make sure that mode is set to moment and not toggle, or this will not work properly. And for the minimum and maximum values, we can leave it at 0 and 127. That means a CC value of 0 will bypass distortion 1, and a value of 127 will engage distortion 1. Once that's done, just hit right, right, and right again to save your settings. And that's it. You now have an understanding of how MIDI mapping works on the Boss GT-1000 core. All you need to do next is program your Morningstar MIDI controller with the settings shown here on the screen. You can name this switch DS1 off to indicate that distortion is off, and use DS1 on for the toggle name to indicate when the distortion is on. Make sure that toggle mode is set to on so that we can engage and bypass the effect with the same switch. And as we have set up in the assignments earlier, we just need this switch to send CC number 1 with value 127 in toggle position 1 and value 0 in toggle position 2. As an additional tip, you will want to disable the Remember Toggle States function under your Morningstar controller's global settings. This ensures that the toggle states of your MIDI controller switches will always match the initialized states of your GT Core presets. Now switch A toggles on and off distortion 1 in preset U1. And we've also repeated the same process with switch B for FX1. Congrats if you made it this far. It's a lot to digest today, we know. If you like what you've seen so far, it'd be greatly appreciated if you hit the like button and subscribe. Now, moving on to our last tip for today, controlling parameters within an effect block. This is very similar to what we've just done, and now that you have an idea of how MIDI mapping works on the GT Core, it will be much easier. For this example, let's say we want to control the feedback amount on delay 1, and increase the number of repeats when we press a switch. All we have to do is head to the control assign table again, choose delay 1 feedback as our target, set our minimum and maximum feedback amounts, 30 and 75% in this case, set your desired MIDI CC number as the source, in this case we are using MIDI CC number 4, hit right and right and right, and we are done. Then on the MC3, we just have to program a similar message as before. To save us some time, let's just copy our switch settings from earlier and paste it onto this switch C. Then just rename our switch to feedback low with toggle name feedback high, and change our CC numbers to CC number 4. Hit save preset and we're good to go. Now you can see the feedback amount for delay 1 toggle between 30 and 75% with each press of the MC3 switch. And that's it for today. We hope this video has been useful in helping you unlock the basics of using MIDI with the Boss GT-1000 core. Go ahead and release the full potential of this great sounding multi-effects pedal. In our next video, we're going to show you how to use MIDI to control the tempo on the Boss GT core. So please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. You keep rocking, stay awesome, and we'll see you in the next video.